Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Saya Muhammad AIZAT bin MAHMUD ingin membentangkan tentang Engineer Serve as Better Leaders. Saya Muhammad AIZAT bin MAHMUD berkat military SS16071 KAMS04. Introduction. Engineer. Who is engineer? Siapa engineer? Engineer turn idea into reality. As example, they create useful product and system through a design and management constructions. Engineer apply creativity, playing with imagination and possibilities, leading to new meaning, connection, and outcomes while interacting with ideas, people, and environments. This is what engineer to do. Other possible definition of engineer in regard to the man-made environments. Services provided by engineer require honesty, impartiality, fairness, and quality, and must be dedicated to the protection of the public health, safety, and welfare, performed under a standard of professional behavior. And the next slide is how to become a successful or good leaders. A successful leader is enthusiastic about their job or cause as well as their leadership position. For a person with passion and commitment, people would respond more freely. Leaders need to be able to be a motivation source and to be a motivator for the action of cause needed. Good leaders to do what they can to ensure their team members can do their best work or job. If a leader were to help each member of the team achieve their highest potential and develop their skill, over time there will be improved efficiency and better outcomes. Next, a good manager allows the organization to prosper by helping team members flourish. Although manager face a big challenge of help a team achieve its full potential, it can go a long way toward making that happen through collaboration and encouragement. Moreover, both of definition are very important as shown you are good engineer to solve any problems. Some people believe that the best leader are not made by engineer, although this is not always the case. Engineers are renowned for being detail-oriented, problem-solving, thinking at a deep level, working alone.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad KAMARUL bin Umar. I will present the engineering ethics in the topic Will engineers serve the better leaders? Engineers shall be guided in all their relation by the highest standard of honesty. Engineers also shall acknowledge their errors and shall not distort or alter the facts. Engineers shall advise their client or employers that they are believe in the project will not be successful. Engineers also shall not accept outside employment to detriment of their regular work or interests. The responsibility of engineers also shall not attempt attract an engineer outside from the company by force or misleading pretenses. Engineers also shall not promote their own interests at the expense of their dignity and integrity of the position. Engineers shall treat all persons with dignity, respect, fairness, and without discrimination. All engineers shall not disclose without consent confidential information from the company. All the PNC material and everything shall not be shared with other parties that not inside the company. Engineers also shall not, without the consent of the interest parties, to promote or arrange new employment or practice in connection. Engineers shall not, without the consent of all interested parties, participate in present advisory interest or connection with a specific project or proceeding in which engineer had gained particular specialist knowledge on behalf of a former client and employer. Engineers also shall not promote the safety, health, and welfare of the public. This is not a good practice or immoral practice if it involves the interest of the public, such as safety and so on. If engineers' judgment overrule under circumstances that they endanger life or property, they shall notify their employer and clients, such as the authority, as may appropriate. Engineers also shall approve only those engineering documents that are in conformity with applicable standard. The standard must be followed by the engineers, and then there's no um, compromise with the standard that they use. Engineers also shall not reveal facts, data, or information without the prior consent to the client. Engineers also shall not permit to use their name in associate business venture with any person or firm that believe engaged in fraudulent, dishonest enterprise. Engineers having knowledge of their alleged violation of this code shall report thereon to appropriate professional bodies. Engineers shall perform service only in their area of competence, so that the engineers without, like example, the engineers in expertise in the mechanical cannot acknowledge or endorse any drawing or etc. from the civil or electrical side of works. Engineers shall undertake and assign only when qualified by education or experience in the specific technical field. Engineers shall not affix their signature or any plans or document dealing with subject matter in which lack of competence, nor to any plan or document not prepared under their direction and control. Engineers may accept assignment and assume responsibility for a coordination for entire project and sign the sealed engineering document for the entire project. Okay, like in Malaysia, there's uh, example for sometimes the engineers might be misuse their job and send as a PE to endorse the certain drawing that they are supposedly not uh, um has a power to do it. Okay, engineers shall issue public statement only in an objective and truthful manners. Engineers may express publicly technical opinion that are founded upon knowledge to the fact that competence in the subject matters. Engineers should issue no statement, criticism, or argument on technical matters that are inspired or paid by interested parties. This is the unmoral behavior that engineers do if they do like this. This is not the good manners to do it. Engineers shall act for each employee client for a full agent and trustees. Engineers shall not accept compensation, financial otherwise, from more than one party for the same project. Okay. Engineers shall not solicit or accept financial or other valuable consideration directly or indirectly from outside agent in connection with the work of which they are responsible. Engineers also shall not solicit or accept a contract for the government body on which each principal of officer on their organization serve as a
I'm Eugene and I will present why engineers make good business leaders. First, effective project planning, time management, and problem solving. Over the course of their education, trainee engineers tackle a variety of projects. Each has a strict deadline, encourages finding an innovative, efficient solution, and needs to be approached in a well-structured fashion. Those who can succeed in this area will find their skill translate very well to workplace best practice. Second, a keen attention to detail. Engineering is said by some to be applied mathematics, and engineers need to sweat the small stuff. With the vast sum of money at stake in the world of business, firms want employees who can work with both the big pictures and appreciate the finer details of their operations. Third, good teamwork and communication. While different people will be more and less charismatic than others, aspiring engineers have to work with groups of fellow students on team projects. Even if an individual engineer might not be an inspiring speaker, he or she will almost certainly be able to communicate well within a team, an invariable trait when in a management position. Fourth, strong numeracy and experience in data processing. We have already mentioned the link between engineering and mathematics. They are very closely linked. While you don't need to be a mathematical genius to succeed in business, it certainly helps. Whether you are in negotiation, writing a business plan, or just trying to make sense of data, knowing your way around numbers is a huge asset. Fifth, a high level of computer skills and technical knowledge. All business need to keep up with modern technology to thrive. Engineers also need their fingers on the pulse. Many have a working knowledge of programming, as well as an understanding of the uses and limitations of the technology of the day. But why do engineers become business professionals? All these skills help account for the growing dominance of engineers among the world's business leaders. But even with the benefits of transferable skills, why would engineers be tempted to move into such a different line of work than the one they trained for? While most engineers are paid well, successful business leaders are often paid significantly more. Not only this, but some simply prefer the working conditions offered by the business sector. What additional skill do engineers need for business careers? Relatively few business leaders who work formally engineers say their move was an example of natural career progression. Some of the soft skill and operational knowledge essential to management are not sufficiently nurtured within engineering roles, so extra training may be required. Indeed, engineers and the skills they bring to the table are very welcome within business careers. But to truly advance within this new environment, extra effort is required. That's all from me. I am Lim Eugene.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. I'm Muhammad Akmal from AZLI. Today I want to present engineer and law for my group. So as an engineer we have to obey the law and this will make a better leader. So next, why engineer has to study law to be good leader? As we know, engineer will obey the law and engineer has to obey the law. So to be a good leader, he or she have to follow regulations, stay compliant with government ordinance, know which permits are necessary in which circumstances, protect their works, know the boundary of liability, avoid lawsuit, negotiate contract and know when to contact a lawyer. So if anything happen, engineer have to prepare early lah. So Uh, so uh, in this slide we have three laws that engineers should know. So the first one is a contract laws. It's a basis of engineer work. Legally binding document protect engineer right and obligation, avoid lawsuit due to contract breach. So if engineer know this, engineer can do work and manage their company peacefully. So they have a black and white to as a bukti. So next, the TOTS law. TOTS law is a law that come from ourselves. So it will protect engineer with civil engineer due to neglecting court measure in material amount. Engineer should know how to protect themselves and his and his company. So if engineers know the TOTS law, so engineer can can preserve themselves lah. So in other style, because the law now is now a major immature amount, so another people can sue engineer if anything happen. So sure they will want the money. So engineer will have to protect his company to avoid this thing. The third one is a intellectual property laws. Is a what engineer have to be and what engineer have to design. So it's a daily basis of engineer, pattern design, property design. So engineer need to understand this law to avoid counterfeit and infringing. So now in our world, so many designs, so many patents have been approved. So to avoid counterfeit, engineer should know this law lah, so they can sue other people that infringing his or him design. So in other place, engineer workplace also need to obey the law. So engineer will know and understand the basis of law and regulating hiring and workplace. This mainly about a worker and the place for the engineer to work. This is to prevent discrimination for the leave, salary, compensation and worker right. These four things is mainly important for worker. And then lastly, to avoid potential legal trouble. Next is engineer fail to comply. In Malaysia, we have the law itself is called Registration of Engineer Act 1967. This law will cover all the engineer law. So if engineer if if not comply with this law, it will cause a public safety. So it will endanger the public, make the public feel uncomfortable. For worker, maybe the worker feel not safe to work, the salary not enough, and then the danger in the workplace. So as an engineer and as a leader, engineer should prepare the safe workplace for the worker. And lastly, to prevent the company damage, for example bankrupt, fine and others. Okay, thanks.
In conclusions, the engineer serve as better leader can be proven. It is difficult to value engineering ethics and law in engineering is very good to become a leader. It is about profession development. It seems like a priority is everywhere you look to improve leader skill. That's why engineers make a good business leaders. Thank you. That's all from my team.